G'day, Kel. Welcome to this episode of Aussie English. So today we're going to be talking about a bit of Aussie culture. Yep. Aussie culture. We're going to be talking about Christmas.
Yay!
Or Xmas, as we sometimes call it down
really?
Yeah, well, I don't know why. I think it's cross, right? Christ on a cross, Xmas. It's called Xmas for people who aren't really Christian, like very, very religious. They tend to refer to it as Xmas.
Oh, never heard that.
But I would usually just call it Christmas, but sometimes I'd write it. When I'm writing quickly, I'll write X. M-A-S, Xmas. So, I thought we could talk a bit about, I don't know, what Christmas was like for each of us growing up. Obviously with a focus on me and Australia, but also to hear about your experiences with Christmas growing up. Because, you know, it's one of those things. I grow up doing a certain, you know, having a certain set of customs and rituals that we do each year, and then I think, oh yeah, everyone else does them everywhere else in the world, just the same as I do.
For the same, but yeah.
Well, what questions do you have for me to start us off?
I don't know, like, was it the same every year, the same for you, Christmas, or was something that you would be looking forward to, like, as a child and be all excited about, or it was like, oh my God,
no.
Family gatherings?
I think that happened a little later. When I was a little kid, I used to love Christmas because you always got presents.
Yeah.
Right? So to sort of run you through how it usually occurred, for me growing up when I was a little kid, my earliest memories of Christmas were, we would have in Australia, so Christmas Eve, the night before Christmas Day, that's the 24th of December. Then we have Christmas Day, which is the 25th. And then we have Boxing Day, which is the 26th. And so Christmas Eve, we would usually celebrate with some of my dad's family because it would just, the two families, my mum and my dad's families would never get together. It would always be you see one, then you see the other. So on Christmas Eve, I would see his family. We would exchange presents. We would usually have a more versatile dinner. So it could be anything really with them. Someone would bring, you know, chips and dips and little things to eat. But it would be at my auntie's house and she would usually cook something, but it wouldn't be the same thing every year. So she'd just cook some kind of meal, like, you know, with a salad. Maybe there'd be cold meats like ham and salami to put in rolls, or it could be anything. So we would do that on Christmas Eve, and then we would usually exchange presents with them because we weren't going to see them on Christmas Day. So we would usually sit down after dinner, and then each family would give everyone else in the other family a present or two each, and they would, you know, it's wrapped up, might have a ribbon on it, might have just wrapping paper with sticky tape on it with a card on it saying, you know, Merry Christmas, Dave. And then they open the present, oh, I got Lego, woohoo, you know, depending on who it was. Or it could be a voucher or clothes, could be anything. But then on Christmas Eve, we would usually be, me and my sister would usually be incredibly excited because we would go home knowing that Santa was coming that night, right? So we would be like, oh, I can't wait to get home, go to sleep.
Did you actually believe in Santa?
What are you talking about, Kel?
I mean...
what do you mean, believe? Santa's real, Kel?
Okay.
So, yeah, well, of course, yeah. Well, what else are you going to believe, right? You get told this by your parents.
Yeah.
And why would you not? You go to sleep, you wake up the next day, and there's all these gifts under the tree that weren't there the day before. That's it. So, yeah, I would go to sleep with my sister in the same room or in separate rooms as we got older, and we would always be like, oh, I can't sleep. What if Santa comes, like, while we're awake? Oh, my gosh.
My God.
You know, you'd be like, we're going to, like, try and listen and hear if we hear his reindeer and his sled land on the roof.
Yeah.
And I remember, too, thinking, Mum, Dad, we don't have a chimney. How does he get in the house?
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute.
And Mum's like, oh, we leave the door open. Don't worry. He can get in. And so we would go to sleep thinking that he was coming and he would put the presents under the Christmas tree. So we would have a Christmas tree set up, usually a plastic one. Some people would buy small pine trees that you can, like real trees, and you'd hang decorations on them like Christmas balls and bells and angels and, you know, gingerbread men, candy canes, holly, reindeer, snowmen, everything to do with Christmas on these trees. And the presents would usually go under the tree that people had bought one another. And then Santa would usually leave our presents in a special sack. So Mum and Dad had like pillowcases with our names on them.
Yep.
And they would be under the tree empty on the night,
For
on
Santa
the
to
24th.
put the gifts inside.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
this
the
is
next
so
day
cute.
we would wake up and we would like, you know, before anything we'd run out and have a look at the tree and look underneath and be like, oh my gosh, the sacks are full of presents. And then,
This is so cute.
but we were patient. We'd have to go in and wake Mum and Dad up and be like,
So you couldn't open the presents before?
no, they had to be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They had to be there. So we'd have to go, and it would be so annoying because sometimes you'd wake up and it'd be like 5 a.m.
Yeah,
And you'd
definitely.
be like, all right, it's time, you know, the sun's not up, but it's time. And Mum and Dad would be like, go back to bed.
Really?
Yeah, because it was so early. They'd be like, go to sleep for another hour or two, and then we'll wake up and do it. And I'd be like, no, we have to wait so long to see the presents.
So what would you usually get? Like, what was like...
That varied.
Like cars and...
Well, yeah, so toy cars. I remember Lego used to be something I always wanted. So we would wake up my parents, they'd come out and they would usually sit on the sofa and we would sit on the ground, Annika and I, my sister and I, in front of the tree and each have our sacks and be pulling the presents out and comparing sizes and being like, oh, she got more than me, Santa.
Really?
So, or she got a bigger one than me, or I got a small one. Or what is this? It's the shape of a CD or a DVD.
Yeah.
Ah! You know, so you'd be trying to guess what it was. And I remember always shaking it, hoping that you would hear that jingle of Lego pieces.
yeah.
So you shake the box and you'd be like, is there going to be lots of little pieces? And then you're like, yeah. Because you can normally tell the difference between
Definitely.
a puzzle or Lego or a DVD or something. And you know the box sort of shape of Lego as well, right? So yeah, I used to get Lego. You'd get all sorts of toys like water guns, robots, stuffed toys. Could be anything.
So good. So you would get more than one present?
Yeah. Yeah. They'd usually not necessarily spoil us. I remember the presents were never ridiculously
but a couple
expensive.
things that,
My parents were never really well off. They were, you know, in a similar position that you and I are today when I was very young, maybe a little bit better off, but I think also they never wanted to spoil us. So they would never be like, you know, hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of toys.
Definitely.
And I think too, because they knew that you're not going to be playing with that toy for that long, right? You'll play for it for a few weeks, maximum, and then you'll cast it aside and be asking for the next toy. And so they were like, well,
what's the point?
Yeah, and Lego, far out, that gets expensive. You look at some of those huge things and it's like hundreds of dollars. But yeah, so that used to be it. We would get up in the morning, wake the parents up, go through the presents, and then, you know, be like, oh, man, Santa, what a badass. It's so awesome. And, you know, thank you, Santa. I'm like, oh, he didn't give us coal, you know? So there's the stereotype or the story, I guess, in Western culture that Santa, if he knows who's been good and who's bad, and you as a child have to be good in order to get presents. If you're bad, you get coal, right? Like burnt wood. He'll leave you some coal.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, so there's always that song, right? He knows if you've been naughty. He knows if you've been good. Whatever it is.
But would your parents put like coal inside a bag, just like, oh, that's because I did this thing? Like,
No.
No?
No. I think that'd be like child abuse.
No, I mean, you would get presents, but it's one.
Nah, I don't think...
Piece of coal, just like, oh, yeah, I remember.
I think they probably would have done that if we had an open fire at the house where they could have readily had access to coal. Maybe, but that never happened.
I didn't know
though.
this thing, yeah.
But we would also leave out, before we went to sleep on the 24th, we used to leave out food and milk for Santa. So that would be something we would do too, where above where our sacks were, or the Christmas stockings are, some people buy stockings, like these huge kind of like sock kind of things for you to put presents in. You quite often in Western culture, in America, in Britain, in Australia, and probably other parts of Europe as well, kids will put food and drink for Santa because he's obviously tired, right? After going to, 3 billion kids' homes. So we would leave milk in a glass, and often biscuits that we'd made or something for Santa to eat.
So in the morning, the food would be gone?
It'd always be half eaten.
Ah, no way!
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So my parents would always come and just like take a sip of the milk and probably a few bites of the biscuits or the carrot or whatever that was there.
This is so
and be like,
cute.
Look, Santa's eaten some of the stuff. Like, obviously he liked it and kept going on his way. And we'd always, you joke around. You're like, that's why Santa's so fat.
Yeah. Oh
he's
my God,
always getting
this is
treats.
so cute.
Poor Santa with his diabetes from all the biscuits and milk.
Just leave him a beer, man. Next time, just like there you go. So,
yeah, so that would be Christmas Eve and Christmas morning. And then for Christmas Day, we would usually go to my grandmother and grandfather's house on my mother's side. So my mother's family and her parents. And that was always much bigger than what I did with my dad's family. Because part of his family lives overseas. So it would be a small thing with his family. With my mum's family, on the other hand, it got bigger and bigger as we got older because of her siblings all having children. So it used to be wild. Like... we would go to their place in Melbourne, so we'd have to drive for like an hour and a half, and then they would have morning tea, so like shortbread, tea, coffee, whatever drinks you want, and you sort of wait for everyone to arrive to the party. And then there was a sort of very regimented and strict lunch that was pretty much the same every single year. That's funny. My grandmother would organise a very traditional roast, which was usually turkey and lamb. They would have a turkey and lamb roast, and they would have their vegetables, the sort of traditional roast and veggies. So you would have things like pumpkin, potato, green beans, and I think it would usually be those three, and then maybe some salad. And she would have other people in the family bring other food too. So someone would bring things like chips, like lollies.
Yep.
And chocolates, yeah. Someone would have to bring the rum butter, a special kind of like sweet butter with rum in it.
I think I've tried it.
Yeah, you will have had
with cake or something, yeah.
Exactly. And so we go through all these courses. You have the first course, which is a little entree with salad, the main course with all the meats, the meatballs, the veggies like potato, pumpkin, and she would have peaches. That was a very strange thing. I remember they always had these like canned fruit peaches that you can have with your dinner.
Yeah.
And then dessert would usually be mousse, ice cream, and then the Christmas pudding, the special Christmas pudding, which was I think a plum pudding, so it's like a fruit cake that's been boiled, a plum pudding that's been boiled, and she would usually pour brandy on it, liqueur, and then light it on fire as they brought it out. Yeah. Right? So this cake would usually enter the room on fire.
Wow.
And that was always just normal for me. I'm like, yeah, everyone does that, right?
And I've never seen it because we went, I think 2 weeks ago we went to see your grandparents.
Well, the year before, for some reason, they failed and they couldn't light it. I remember. Okay. Oh, but last time they just skipped it. So cool. The lighting it on fire. And my grandmother does a very strange thing where she puts old Australian currency into the cake, right? Yeah. So she takes coins from before 1966 that was in circulation then, but like I think like a threepence and a penny and that kind of old money, and she puts that into the cake. And if you find certain currency, certain valued coins in there in your piece of cake, she'll exchange it for $1 or $2 or 10 cents or something.
Yeah,
so
I think I got $2 or something.
Yeah, you got $2 this year. Yeah, so that was my Christmas. And again, with them, we would usually exchange gifts amongst everyone and all the different family members before lunch. So everyone would sit down in the living room in sort of like a big circle with like 20, 25 of us. And then each family would take turns in handing out gifts to all the people in the different families. And it would be anything from like wine or food or jam, like food that people had made, or it could be usually toys and small gifts and, Barbie dolls, that sort of stuff for children. Yeah. More interesting things for them to play with, Nerf guns, water pistols. Yes. Yeah, so that was usually Christmas for me. And then Boxing Day was usually just the 26th, was usually just a day to rest and chill out.
Yeah.
But that's when the Boxing Day sales begin in stores in Western countries. So that's usually all of those big commercial stores like Myers, JB Hi-Fi, all of those places that you buy gifts from before Christmas usually have massive sales where they sell things for like 50% off on Boxing Day. And so there tends to be a whole bunch of crazy capitalism going on that day as well, quite often.
I've experienced that in towns. It was great. It was just like half price stuff, and yeah, great.
I guess one more thing to add, the interesting thing about Australian Christmas is that it's during summer. And the weird thing for me growing up was, and I never even really thought about this until I got older, that all of the trinkets and decorations and things related to Christmas that you buy are all winter related.
Yeah.
You know, like the stocking, snow, snowmen, angels, all of these, like the decorations on the pine trees, which are from the north, right?
Yep.
You know, pine needles, all of this stuff was always winter related because it comes from, you know, Europe, Western Europe, and like the US. So that was always funny for me because we would have Christmas where it's probably could be anywhere between 30 to 40 degrees and, you know, it hasn't snowed for 4 months anywhere in Australia.
Yeah.
And you would go down to the beach and, like, you know, play cricket on the beach, go for a swim.
Yeah.
And that would usually be our sort of Christmas afternoon. So enjoying the sun. So
it's the same for
it's a bit
me.
strange.
Always hot, so never really had this like stereotypical Christmas where you have snow and like you go outside to play with the snow and things. Just it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, I always thought, like, why are we playing with snowmen? And it's like, we don't have it. We don't have snow, exactly. Why is Santa dressed in such warm gear?
I know.
And so there would be this stereotype, those jokes on TV and stuff where Santa's wearing shorts and a singlet or something at the beach. Yeah, exactly. And so what was it like for you growing up then, Kel, in Brazil, compared to the sort of Western, Australian, British and American Christmas? What was it like for you in Brazil?
It's a bit different, I would say. It was something I would be looking forward to during the year as a child. Just like, yes, Christmas. Not so much because of the presents I would get, but because of the food.
Oh, really? Yeah. So you're sort of the opposite of me. I'd always be like, presents first, and then, do we have to eat?
No, because, and again, I think it depends on your financial situation in Brazil. It depends a lot on it. So if your parents have more money or your family has more money, you might have a bigger party. But my family is quite big, and we didn't have a lot. So it was this one time in the year that we would do something really big, and it was amazing. So I would be all excited about it. But the thing is, we celebrate it differently. Like our party happens on the 24th.
Yeah. I remember you telling me this and being like, what do you mean it happens on Christmas Eve? You celebrate Christmas Eve more than Christmas Day? We
spend a whole day, Christmas Eve, cooking, preparing the house, cleaning, and then we get ready, like usually have new clothes.
Yeah.
And you stay awake until midnight. That's when you have dinner with your family and you open presents. Yeah. So I would be so excited because I didn't really have rules in my house like children go to bed at 8 p.m. But it's hard for a child to be awake, until really late. So that would be one of the very rare occasions when my sister and I would be awake until like midnight or 1 a.m.
See, for us, that would be New Year's Eve, that we were like, oh, we get to stay up late. Like, Christmas Eve would never be one where we could stay up to midnight. And I think mainly because our parents wouldn't stay up that long, right? Because they're in bed by whatever time, 10, so we would be in bed before then. No. Especially as little kids. Whereas for for New Year's Eve, they would be up all night. So, of course, we were more able to stay up late on those sorts of days. So
for us, we would stay awake until like midnight, 1 a.m. And then at midnight, we have fireworks and you say Merry Christmas and you hug and you exchange presents, and you have food.
Do you have the thing with Santa though too? Are you waiting for Santa to come?
Some people do, but honestly, I've never had this thing in my house. Mom would never, like my family just would never be like, Santa Claus is coming. Like I don't ever remember thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, he's coming. Like, no, I knew my mom would get a present. And it was very like, listening to you explaining how exciting it was, I kind of feel like I wish I had it, you know? It was just so magical, and like I can't imagine being so excited about something. I was excited, but you know, just thinking, oh, is he going to give me a lot of presents and things? I already knew it was my mom or my grandmother, or, you know.
I think it was one of those things you snap out of it pretty quickly, and you realise. And I think for me, I discovered when I walked into my parents' room one day and they had the receipts for all the gifts on the wall. I was like, Mum, Dad, how come the receipt here is like literally all the gifts that Annika and I got for Christmas? And
what'd she say?
Oh, we bought them for Santa, so that he could, you know, give them to you. I was like, and I pretty much walked out. I was like, Annika, Santa's not real.
No way. Oh, that's so funny. I never had this moment. Like, I always knew it was Mom or Dad or, you know, someone. So I was excited about what I would get, but not because of Santa.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, I know Grandma is probably going to give me something.
Well,
So
looking back on it though, I think, how did we not think, Mum, Dad, why haven't you given us any presents?
yeah.
Like, Santa gave us all this stuff and you gave us nothing.
Can Santa be my dad? Or yeah. So, and then we would have dinner with the family, and it was a really, you know, massive sort of dinner. We would have like, my family doesn't really like turkey. It's very popular in Brazil, but we never really liked it. So we'd have this big chicken, full of chemicals or whatever. But yeah, really massive chicken.
Being given steroids, had it?
Yeah, that one they get. It's like 1st of December, something happens and all the chickens are massive. I'm like, okay. So a lot of rice with raisins. Oh, delicious.
Wow.
Yeah, all the other things are in Portuguese, so I'm not quite sure
how to translate them.
But yeah.
So very traditional food then.
Very traditional food. Lasagna or you know.
That's Italian.
Well, yeah, but then brigadeiro, things like that we would have.
These
for Christmas.
chocolate desserts.
Chocolate. And that was it. And then we would eat and go to bed.
So what is it, a very religious event for you or celebration too? We should talk about that.
Some people, not for me personally, my family, we would watch the, what do you call it, Mass?
Mass?
The thing we see.
Mass.
Mass, yeah.
Mass.
On
I was
TV.
thinking Mars, the planet.
No,
Mass. Yes, Mass.
On TV, actually.
Yeah, with the Pope.
With the Pope and everything.
Because obviously you guys are Catholic.
Yeah. But I remember Grandma going to church, but I wouldn't. It was just like, whatever, you know.
Well, and that was the same for
me. Some
me.
people really follow like the tradition, like they go to church and the mass finishes before midnight, so you have time to go home, have
it goes
dinner.
that late though. Holy moly!
It's quite late, but it has to finish before like 11, I would say.
So that the family can celebrate.
Yes.
So as in Australia, I guess. It is a Christian holiday, right? It's about the birth of Jesus and, celebrating new life, everything like that. But I think the average person in Australia isn't very religious. The average person's probably atheist, right? At least not actively practicing a religion. So if anything, they're sort of Christian through their family, but they don't go to church and they don't, actively pray and that sort of stuff. So for us, it's still... The holiday is kind of now detached from Christianity and going to church and practicing it like that. We never did that growing up, but my mum and her family were Christian when she was young, or at least her family still is. She's not anymore, but they would go to church, and they still do. So they still go to church on Christmas Day, and I think it's the morning service on Christmas Day that they go to. So we always have to arrive after they've gone to church, and that's usually... I think that usually starts at like 9 or 10 in the morning and finishes after an hour or two.
Yeah.
But so it is a Christian holiday, but it's not just for Christians to celebrate. That's the point I'm trying to get at. In America, in Australia, in many parts of Europe, Christian countries have this celebration, but everyone takes part, whether you're Christian or not. So,
same in Brazil.
Yeah, so it's not weird to meet people who are Indian or people who are from, you know, the Middle East or from Africa living in Australia and still celebrating Christmas with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to be a Christian to still, you know, want to get a Christmas tree, put decorations on it, buy presents for people, say thank you to everyone, and kind of just celebrate being a big community and you know, what you've got.
Well, it is a family sort of thing in Brazil, and it's very, you know, related to religion, although my family is not extremely religious, but yeah, my grandma would go to church, if I'm not mistaken, but then... Yeah, some people do, some people don't. So, so that was my 24th. And then on the next day, the 25th, we would just eat the leftovers and for lunch and for dinner. And if there was anything else left, we would eat the next day. We have this joke that like...
How much did you cook?
Oh, man, you have no idea. We literally cook for like 4 or 5 days because everyone's so tired after that.
That makes sense.
It think my poor mom, she would cook the whole thing by herself.
Yeah.
And you know, that's when my sister and I would get involved. We would help her with things and like cakes and stuff, just being so curious around the kitchen, and that was really exciting. And she would give us like, oh, you make the brigadeiros, or you make this cake and things. So the very few things I know how to cook are because, you know, my mom during Christmas cooking around the house and me watching and helping her. So, and I think that's when it differs from your celebration in Australia, because we don't have like, some people do have Christmas lunch on the 25th, but we really, the main thing is the midnight thing on the 24th.
Yeah.
That's the main party when everyone gets together. We open presents and everything. The next day is like some people get together, some people don't, and it doesn't really, and you don't have Boxing Day.
Yeah.
So all the sales and things would be before Christmas, like before the 24th, because you need to buy the presents for people to open the 24th. So if you want to buy cheap stuff, it has to be before Christmas. And we don't have Boxing Day. I'm quite sure it's a holiday. And then that's it. And then we start cooking again for New Year's Eve. And yeah, pretty much. And you were mentioning the presents. You would get, I would get one present. One, like, it would be a toy, or it would be new clothes or new shoes, or, you know,
something useful too that you kind of needed.
Definitely. My mom and my grandmother would just like put a little bit of money into something a bit better, like, oh, I'm gonna get you a new dress. It's a bit more expensive. So it was a much more
practical sort of present.
Definitely. I would get toys from my dad, because he wasn't living with me. So he was like, oh, I'll visit you. He would come over, drop a few, like one present for me, one present for my sister. And that was it. But the family I was living with, my mom, my grandma, my aunts, they would give me useful sort of things like shoes, clothes, whatever, you know.
I remember too, when we used to go through this stage on Christmas Day, all the kids in the neighborhood used to leave the house after they'd gotten the gifts, right, in the morning, and you would see all these children playing in the street with new toys.
Yeah.
So there'd be kids with like electric race cars, a new skateboard, maybe a kite, always playing. And especially if you knew the kids, quite often you would be like taking turns and being like, yeah, what did you get for Christmas? Whoa, wow, that's awesome. Can I have a go? Yeah. Like, can I try your skateboard? So that was always really fun. Oh, and we used to have on the 24th, Santa would come around on the fire engine. And so we were showing you this recently. So the fire brigade, the CFA, I've forgotten what that stands for, but the CFA in Australia is the fire brigade, the people who are sent out when there's a fire. And often they would pay, or they would fund themselves, they'd buy little bags of candy, or lollies, as we call them in Australia, lolly bags. And Santa, someone dressed up as Santa, would usually be on the top of one of these red and white fire engines, and that would drive around the streets playing Christmas music, Christmas carols, and hand out the lolly bags to children.
Ah, okay.
And so that used to happen as well. You would hear the music in the background
And you
on
just
the
run.
24th, and you'd be like, Santa's nearby, where is he? And, you know, you walk out in the street and he's waving on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, yeah, lollies! And he'd walk down and just give you some lollies and be like, ho, ho, ho!
I'm sure we have that. I remember that in my city, but Santa doesn't, you know, drive around or anything. He's somewhere sitting down in his chair, and you go to him, you take photos, and then he might give you a lollipop or something. But
well, and we have those at the moment set up in like malls. So if you go, we saw two of them today. If you go to malls anywhere nearby, you'll often see this, you know, big chair with Santa on it, and you can get photos. It's usually for children to get photos with Santa. So that's something else. But I guess sort of finishing up, if you guys want to celebrate Christmas in Australia, the good thing is there's no one way of doing it.
Yeah.
You can make it as big or as small as you want. But probably the biggest things I would say is just get a Christmas tree, however you sort of want to get like a real tree, a plastic tree. It could be, you know, a gum tree that you've bought, a small one. You can have whatever you want. The spirit, the idea, though, is just to have some kind of tree and then to put decorations on it. And again, you can sort of make whatever you want. I remember my parents and my grandparents, when we were growing up, used to get us to sort of do creative art and make things out of native plants like gum trees. We'd use the gum nuts and like other things and glue them onto like horseshoes or something and put them on the tree. So you can make your own, you know, gifts and do that with the kids and be involved. And I guess the biggest thing is just share presents with those people important to you on Christmas Day, whether it's food, something you've cooked, something you've made.
That's something I really like about Australia. I don't think we have the same sort of tradition, not so strong in Brazil. Like you cook something for someone or you make something, like even it can be just a card or something. It's just, I love that. We are much more like you buy something new.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be expensive, but you usually buy something.
Well, I think my parents and my family and my extended family have sort of gotten to a point now where you realize it's just capitalism, right? You're just spending money on things people aren't necessarily needing, that they don't necessarily want, that they're not going to use for very long. And so a lot more, at least in recent years, my family, my immediate family, like my sister and my parents, as well as my extended family, now make things like their own wine, or they'll put together some kind of like protein balls or a bag of nuts or some lollies, or they'll make food, they'll cook gingerbread men like my sister's going to do tomorrow, and then they give that to the family. So and you can do that with your culture, right? Like whatever it is, if you guys are from say India and you can cook some really good food there that you could give to other people really appreciate getting interesting new things. And I would be like Kel's planning on cooking food that's Brazilian and handing that out to the family.
That would be really nice.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so hopefully you've enjoyed this episode and it's given you some understanding of Australian culture and what Christmas is like here in Australia and how it compares to Christmas in Brazil.
Yep.
But I would definitely love to know from you guys how you guys celebrate Christmas or what you celebrate instead of Christmas during this period of the year. And I guess until next time, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. See you soon.
Bye.